Well, would you look who it is? It's me. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Vanessa if you are new here. And if you're not new here and you're wondering who is this person in front of me, it's me. It's Vanessa. I'm back again. And today's video is kind of a impromptu video. Before I post videos, I really like to script out what I'm going to talk about, and I love talking about Catholic apologetics. That is what I love to debate. That's what I love to study. It's what I love to do. And so you'll very rarely find me talking about things that concern a heart to heart. And that is one of these matters today. And so this video is one that I didn't intend on making. And I kind of wish that I didn't have to make it. But I think that it was I think it's a topic that we should talk about. And so this is just going to be totally raw, probably unedited because I'm lazy. And it's just going to be totally unscripted. So bear with me if I tend to ramble or stutter or whatever it may be. But I had not planned on making this video today, but I think that God gave me the situation in my life so that I would make this video, and maybe I'm wrong. But nonetheless, here is today's video. I'm going to be talking about doing things and standing up for the truth in your daily life and in your parish life. Now, in the past, I have been presented with the question if my priest is teaching something incorrectly, or maybe his homily was like me, what should I do? And I was asking myself this question years ago when I used to attend a church back where I used to live in California. This was pre-COVID, but I had an issue with the priest's homilies. So I would come onto the live streams and I would kind of discuss it with you guys. And some of you guys said, like, you know what, maybe you should call attention to it, or like ignore it, or if it gets so bad, bring it to the bishop of your archdiocese. And I was like, okay, that was something to consider. Then the world shut down, and then I stopped going to that church. So it was something that I hadn't really thought about for a while. But right now, many of you guys know this, I have moved out of California and I now live in Nevada. And because of this, I am church shopping. I'm looking around to find which parish is going to become my home parish. Right now, where I'm living is not probably where I'm going to stay living. And so you guys probably know a little bit about this, but ever since the day that I've moved to Nevada, I've spent every single day visiting people in the hospital, people very close to my life. I only have 2 family members with me in Nevada, and both of them have taken time being in the hospital. So I have been a frequent to different hospitals. And so one hospital I was like, okay, I'm going to choose a parish over here. There's one right across the street. That's the parish we're going to. And then we ended up moving to a different hospital that's totally on the other side of town. So then now we have different parishes. So I've been kind of parish shopping, but it's kind of been because one is closer to this hospital versus the other. I've not gone to a parish that's near my home yet. But anyways, last week I went to a parish that's right across the street from the hospital that we're currently at, and I didn't take too much of a liking to it. So because of that, I offered my mom the opportunity to try out a different parish. So today we visited a different parish that was a little bit farther from the hospital, but close enough. So we went to this new parish, and I really loved it. I loved the priest, the main pastor there. Today we had a visiting priest, and the homily was great. I love the reverence the priest has for the Eucharist, and the Mass was just beautiful, and it kind of reminded me of home. At the previous parish, the Mass was also beautiful, but it didn't really I don't know if you guys know how I feel. I mean, if you guys can relate to this, but right when I came in, everything was beautiful. Nothing could be done differently, but it just didn't feel like home. And then when I went to this parish today, I was just like, this feels like home. And everything that went on at this Mass, someone would go like, all right, going on to the next Mass. but for whatever reason, it felt like home. There were people like around me who were saying the prayers way too fast. Like there was like a race against time about who could say the Our Father the fastest or the Nicene Creed the fastest. It was just, or the Gloria, because there was no music, so they spoke it, and it was just like who could say it the fastest. And then there was a person chatting. There's a person on the phone over here, like talking on the phone, like all these things would deter a bunch of people, but for whatever reason, I felt there is a reason I'm here, and I think that this is going to be my home parish, and that maybe a little bit of reform could take place from the leaders in the church. And so then I was considering like, maybe I should find a job here. Anyways, that's not the point of today's story. But I went to go receive the Eucharist, and they had a lot of Eucharistic ministers, which I kind of found a little strange because we had two priests. I don't know why we needed Eucharistic ministers because there weren't that many people, especially since we were like going through the mass like this. It's just like we had extra time to receive the Eucharist. But anyways, they had Eucharistic ministers. That wasn't my main issue. The issue was the man that I went to go receive the Eucharist from. He was kind of presenting the Eucharist in a way and giving the Eucharist in a way that just didn't have any reverence. Like there's some times where like you may not take a liking to the way someone does things, but it just seemed like a total lack of reverence for the Eucharist, and it totally caught me off guard, and it left a bad taste in my mouth, and it kind of left me feeling like, did I receive the body and blood of Christ at this moment? Because the way I received it almost made it seem like it was a symbol, and we shouldn't ever feel like that when receiving the Eucharist, because it becomes the body and blood of Christ. So whether or not you're receiving the Eucharist from a Eucharistic minister or you're receiving it from the priest, it's the body and blood of Christ. And so it should be revered in that way. But the way that he presented the Eucharist to me and then placed it in my hand, I try to receive on the tongue, but since this was a new parish, I wasn't really sure about the protocol, because at the previous parish I went to, they kind of were very adamant about not receiving on the tongue. That was kind of why I decided I didn't want to return to that parish. So I went to this new parish, and the man, just the way that he gave me the only way that I can show this is if I act it out. So bear with me. This is not to pick at this man, but there's a whole reason as to why I'm telling this whole story. Pretend this is the Eucharist, okay? This is the closest thing by. This is a chapstick from L'Oreal. So he was just like, the body and blood of Christ. Like he was doing it to everyone like this. Like the body and blood of Christ. The body and blood of Christ. And it wasn't that, but I did find that kind of like weird. And he was like, the body and blood of Christ. And then I was like, amen? And then he like slammed it into my hands, which I have the mic in my hands. I guess I can't do it. But like he just like kind of like smacked it into my hand. With any more pressure, it would have broke. Like, not my hand, the Eucharist. And so I just like, I received it, and then I went to the pew, and I didn't even have time to pray because they were like rushing through this mass. Like right when I got back to the pew, the rest of the Eucharist was back in the tabernacle, and that was it. So I didn't really have time to like sit there and pray, and all of a sudden mass was over. So I was sitting there in the few seconds that I had, and I was thinking, you know what? It would be really good if the Eucharistic ministers were like, if there was reform happened. Like if, maybe they should have a meeting at this church for better, just like communication about how we need to have further reverence for the church. And the homily was talking about the churches in Africa and how we're all one church. And I was just like so moved by it. And then I was just like, I don't know, it seemed like the whole truth of Catholicism was not, or the truth of the real presence of the Eucharist was just lost in that moment once I received the Eucharist. And it just kind of felt like, it didn't feel like a Catholic church. I don't know how to explain it. It felt wrong to me. And I was thinking about what should I do? And so I was going to leave because, it's hot here in Las Vegas. It's like 117 degrees. And I was like, I'm thinking about like, okay, I want to just like go home, go back to visiting the person I was visiting in the hospital. But I thought, you know what? No, I should present this to the priest. because I have worked at a Catholic church before volunteering, and I also was a confirmation director at the previous parish that I worked at in Burbank. And I was thinking, if a student or if a parishioner came up to me and told me that they had a Eucharistic minister who gave them the Eucharist in such a such a way, I would want to know so that I could bring it to the parish priest and call him, like go into his office and go like, you know what, Father, this is what's going on. We need to affirm the truth of the real presence to our Eucharistic ministers, because if they're like giving the Eucharist in that matter, where it doesn't feel like they even see it as truly Christ truly present, how are our parishioners going to understand that he's truly present in the Eucharist? So I was just like, we would need proper reverence. I think that if we're gonna have Eucharistic ministers, they need to be instructed about the truth. So I thought about this, and so I was just like, I would want someone to call my attention to it. And so I was thinking, I was like looking around, I'm like, you know what, I don't know who runs any of the ministries here because I'm just a visiting person at this moment. So after Mass, I went up to the priest, and I felt really uncomfortable about doing this. And I said, you know what, Father, you gave a beautiful Mass and everything. Like, we're new here, we're not from here, but I have to be honest with you. The man who gave me the Eucharist, the Eucharistic minister, did not have proper reverence for the Eucharist. And I used to work at a church, and I would like to know if this is occurring at my parish. I would like to know, and I would like for you to know. And I know my parish priest would also love to know this, if that was the case happening at our parish. And he's like, thank you for calling this to my attention. And then I left the situation. Like, I went to the bathroom, and I didn't feel high and mighty. I felt like, man, was I being a quote unquote Karen? Like, was I complaining where complaining shouldn't be? And then I got to the car, and I was telling my mom about it because she had a different Eucharistic minister. And I was just like, you know what? No, I feel that was right. And because if one of my viewers came up to me or sent me an email or whatever it may be, told me the situation, my suggestion would have been, go to the leader of the Eucharistic ministry leader, whoever it may be, and tell them about the situation. You could either go to the Eucharistic minister and tell him the situation, or I would suggest going to the parish priest. And since working in a parish, I now understand like how close the community is. When I used to not work at a parish, I didn't think that everyone chatted with each other, like the receptionist in the front, the confirmation director, the religious education director. I didn't know that they were all like chatty with each other. I didn't know that they had that type of relationship. I don't know. For some reason, I didn't perceive them communicating. But then now that I have worked in the parish, I know that if something was going on in the reception, like let's say, or the receptionist's office, or like whatever it may be, if something were to happen, like I find out that the receptionist was rude to one of the parishioners, I would call attention to it. If I found out that this was going on with Eucharistic ministry back at my home parish, I would talk to the pastor of my parish about this. So I was just like, you know what, no, because given this like newfound insight that we would like to make it, like we would like to be aware of this so that we can address it, I felt like it was my duty to do so. And my mom, while I was talking to her about this, I'm so sorry if I'm rambling and going here to there, to there. My mom was just like, you know what, Vanessa, what I'm realizing more and more as we like visit all these churches throughout time, it's that at each church, even if we're visiting, it's our home. We're just as welcome and necessary as the rest of the congregation there. Not necessary, but you get what I'm saying? Like, we have every right to be there just as much as they do. And so, like, because this is our home, we may not be registered at this particular church or parish, but this is our home. We're Catholic. I could go to church in a different country, in a different state, at a different time of the day. Like, it's still my church. It's the Catholic Church, and it's our right and it's our duty to affirm the teachings and the truths of the church, even if it causes us to be put in an uncomfortable situation. And like, I know that this is like probably not even crazy to some people, but I was like pondering, should I do this? Should I do this? Should I not do this? And I know it wasn't a big thing going up to the parish priest and say, hey, you know what? I think that this could have been done differently. Like maybe that wasn't my place to do so or comment on, but I think that this video and this situation is supposed to come as like a reminder that it's our duty as Christians to affirm the truth in whatever matter that may be. It may be like calling out someone for teaching something not the truth in your church, or it could be lack of proper reverence for the Eucharist. It could be, whatever it may be. It's our duty to affirm the truth and defend the truth, whatever way it may be. For myself, I always thought, it's going to be in the form of Catholic Protestant apologetics. But I'm learning more and more that I'm interacting with people who are not Catholic, who are not Christian, or I'm communicating with people who are Catholic, who are Protestant. I'm going all over the place, but it's our duty to affirm the truth in whatever way that could be. And you may think, that's just that one situation. You shouldn't make a big deal out of it. And you shouldn't. You shouldn't make big deals out of anything. People are entitled to have a bad day. People are entitled to make a mistake. But so we can see this done in the United States of America, where it's we're it's okay. Who cares about that? It's no big deal. It's they're not going to do anything, and then they take a mile. You give them an inch, they take a mile. And we could see it in ourselves with sin. One day it's just a little white lie, and the next thing you know, you're committing mortal sins. Or you may go it's just one Sunday, I'm taking off Mass, no big deal. Next thing you know, you haven't been in Mass in a few years. And so things move very quickly, and sometimes things move very quickly in the negative. Things don't seem to progress too fast in the positive. I've been working out every day for 30 days and I have nothing to show for it, but give me a weekend of binge eating cake, I will see it on my body. But anyways, it's random tangent. I'm thinking about my birthday. I'm already planning for it, planning all the food festivities I'm going to be doing on my birthday. I'm going to come back 30 pounds heavier. I'm super excited about that. But we should not take things lightly anymore. And I don't think that we need to be crazy and excommunicate people, but I think that we need to start putting our foot down in our own home congregation, our own home parishes, that if something seems out of order and is not promoting Christianity, promoting the common good, we should call it out. And we should call out our politicians. We should call out things that are not right, and stop being afraid to offend other people. And this is something that I need to learn. It's that, I'll complain about my fries being bad, or I will call out a worker. Where was I? I was at Sam's Club, and I was ordering a hot dog for my mom, and the worker charged me wrong, and I was sorry ma'am, you charged me wrong. And I was being as polite as I could to the lady, and she was very upset, so she threw the food at me. She threw it on the counter at me, and then as I'm trying to grab it, she shoved it at me that almost fell off the counter. And I was thinking to myself, I'm no big deal. I know she's probably having a bad day. But then I walked away from it and I thought, you know what? She could do this to someone who is having a really bad day. One day where they're God, give me a sign, type of days. Give me a sign that I'm supposed to continue. And what happens if she did that to that person and that was their sign? People have bad days. People shouldn't treat people bad. And then I thought about it. I'm Vanessa, you know what today is? Well, actually, was it July 4th? No, it was right before July 4th or right after July 4th. It was after July 4th, but a few days after. And I was just you know what, Vanessa? This is July 5th, right? You just came from the hospital, and you're at Sam's Club because the person in the hospital who spent their 60th birthday in the hospital wants just a treat for themselves for their birthday. So you're in 117-degree weather, going from the hospital to Sam's Club, and just finally have a moment to get your mom a hot dog because we haven't eaten all day, and this woman is throwing the food at you. So I'm sitting there thinking well, there's people who have bad days, and but I'm having a bad day, and I'm not shoving my food at people. I'm having I'm going through a not so happy situation, and the last thing I think about is being rude to people. And so being a Karen, I got the manager and I told her, I said, you know what? I wasn't going to say anything because I was like, she's probably having a bad day, but so am I. I'm not having a good day either. But the last thing I would do is treat anyone less than what they're worth. And so I will call out workers for mistreating my family, myself, or other people. But then, like, this person was just being so, like, take the Eucharist type of thing with the body and blood of Christ. And I felt uncomfortable about that. So I don't know. This is a whole story that probably didn't need to get told, but it just like it had me thinking, and I just wanted to share it with you guys, whether it be a word of encouragement to stand up for the truth, defend God in whatever way you need to, and understand that it's your duty as Christians to stand up for the truth, or if this video just came to like affirm that Vanessa is a crazy Karen. But at least I'm a crazy Karen defending the truth. That's all I gotta say. So, guys, I just want to thank you all so much. I love you all, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.